Welcome, you're watching Vox News, your daily news updates with Rita Kamkumo. Our headlines today: protesters in Nigeria block Lagos airport as demonstrations against police brutality spiral. The Electoral Commission in Guinea declares null the opposition's self-proclaimed victory in Sunday's presidential election. United States President Donald Trump says he is ready to remove Sudan from the list of state sponsors of terrorism. Our top story today: protesters in Nigeria blocked Lagos airport on Monday as widespread demonstrations sparked by police brutality are spiraling in the country.
We are blocking the international airport because even from the stomach, I've been hearing Nigeria will be better. Till now, we are suffering. So we want to fight for our rights so that they will know that we are feeling pain inside us. Because this, why we are locking down is we are trying to tell them enough is enough.
Because had it been our own grandparents act this way, maybe probably this generation will be living in luxury.
The series of protests started 2 weeks ago when crowds took to the streets over abuses by the controversial Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigeria Police.
Our demand is to eradicate SARS and stop them, not to be operating again, because we don't need them. They are disturbing the nation everywhere. Even they harass you when you are driving, they do whatever they like. So we don't need that anymore. That's why we're here.
And we all know now today, there are many killings everywhere, not even only SARS. Nigeria as a whole needs restructuring. Let's go back to where we started.
Despite the dissolution of the disputed police unit and reforms promised by the authorities, protests have continued to swell as the young demonstrators are demanding more sweeping changes. Amnesty International on Monday reported that at least 15 people have lost their lives, including 2 police officers, since protests against police violence erupted in Nigeria. On the political front, in Guinea, the leading opposition candidate Cellou Dalein Diallo on Monday declared himself the winner of the country's presidential election, which took place on Sunday.
My dear compatriots, in spite of the anomalies that marred the ballot of 18 October and in view of the results coming out of the ballot boxes, I am the victor in this election already in the first round. I invite all my compatriots who cherish peace and justice to remain vigilant and mobilized to defend this victory for democracy. Thank you.
The Electoral Commission, however, responded on Monday, saying that Diallo's self-declared victory in the presidential election, in which incumbent Alpha Condé is seeking a third term, was premature and void. The spokesman of the Electoral Authority clarified that no provisional results of the first round of the election have been officially announced just yet.
The people of Guinea voted peacefully and without violence, demonstrating their great political maturity. I would therefore like to reassure the people of Guinea who voted yesterday in peace without violence that no provisional results have been proclaimed for the time being, and that the Independent National Electoral Commission is the only institution empowered to proclaim provisional results. And this proclamation must be made within a maximum period of 72 hours from the receipt of the last minutes of the administrative commissions for the centralization of votes. And therefore, this is the assurance that I would like to give to the people of Guinea, that the Independent National Electoral Commission is taking all measures for the scrupulous respect of the legal deadline provided for in the revised electoral code.
Guinea's ruling party, meanwhile, firmly condemned on Monday opposition leader Cellou Dalein Diallo's self-declaration as the victor in Sunday's election.
The RPG Arc-en-Ciel, the allied parties and its supporters respectful of the institutions of the Republic, unreservedly and with the utmost firmness condemn the irresponsible and dangerous declaration of the President of the UFDJ, Cellou Dalein Diallo, by which he proclaimed himself elected in the presidential election of October 18, 2020. This anti-republican and anti-democratic attitude calls for strong indignation and unanimous condemnation on the part of all patriots and democrats.
Guinea's Electoral Commission is yet to announce the official results of Sunday's election. In neighboring Ivory Coast, where the presidential election is due in less than 2 weeks, some citizens are doubting that the election will take place as planned, as tensions are rising.
Personally, I don't see the election happening with what is happening in the country. If it is as it is, there cannot be an election on October 31st. It would be better for the political leaders to sit down. Together, they can discuss to find a solution for the people. They must think about the interests of the Ivorians, the people who have been suffering for more than 10 years. We saw in 2010 what this has brought. The traces are still there. Some have lost their jobs, others have been killed. Let's think of those families who are waiting for Ivory Coast to find peace once and for all.
At least 2 people were killed in election-related violence that erupted on Friday in Bongouanou City, known as the stronghold of presidential candidate Pascal Affi-N'Guessan, whose house was set on fire, as well as several shops, restaurants and vehicles. Another person was killed and a dozen were seriously injured on Monday during an opposition protest near Abidjan, according to a local mayor. Dozens of people were killed in inter-communal violence in August and September in several cities across the country, after President Alassane Ouattara announced his decision to run for a controversial 3rd term. Meanwhile, in Ivory Coast, a diplomatic mission sent by the Economic Community of West African States urged the country's leading opposition candidates, Pascal Affi-N'Guessan and Henri Konan Bédié, on Monday to reconsider their decision to boycott the presidential election planned for the 31st of October, as clashes have caused several deaths in recent days.
The mission urged the PDCI and FPI presidential candidates to seriously consider the decision to boycott the election and the call for their supporters to engage in civil disobedience, to protest against the electoral process, but rather to work seriously to reach a consensus on the electoral process, since they may not be able to control the excesses that would result from their call for civil disobedience.
The presidential candidates last week called for the boycott of the presidential election, in which incumbent Alassane Ouattara is seeking a controversial 3rd term, saying that the electoral process was illegal.
The mission observed the persistent mistrust of candidates and political actors to undertake initiatives of constructive dialogue for a lasting solution to the differences between them in the current electoral process.
The observers also called for restraint following pre-election violence recorded in the country.
The mission strongly condemned the recent acts of violence and called on all parties to exercise maximum restraint. The mission urged the relevant authorities to call on the security forces to remain neutral, impartial and professional in the performance of their duties.
Ivorian voters are expected to cast their ballots in less than 2 weeks in an atmosphere of socio-political uncertainty. On the international scene, in the United States, President Donald Trump on Monday announced that he is ready to remove Sudan from the state sponsors of terrorism list. Trump's move was a major goal for Khartoum and followed a compensation deal over past terror attacks. President Trump said that Sudan's interim government had agreed to a $335 million package to compensate American victims of Al-Qaeda's 1998 attacks on United States embassies in Kenya and Tanzania and their families. Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok responded by saying that the funds had been transferred and thanked President Trump on Twitter. Meanwhile, the Sudanese government signed a memorandum of understanding with the American company General Electric last week. According to the deal, the American energy giant will build stations to generate electric power and assist Sudan in the health sector.
Within the negotiations, there's also the topic of supporting the electricity sector through mobile stations, mobile electricity production units, with a capacity of 200 megawatts that we can generally use in emergency situations.
This memorandum is a step towards a long-term relationship with the Sudanese government to provide access to the necessary energy and improve the power transmission network, in addition to improving and modernizing the healthcare infrastructure, whether it is devices related to radiation, heart or tumors, as well as to primary care units, especially in the countryside and in villages far from cities.
The historic agreement between the two nations was praised by Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok as a significant step after decades of international isolation. On the sports scene, young girls in Libya joined the Sports Academy for females only on Monday in the capital city Tripoli after it was temporarily closed to limit the spread of the coronavirus.
The children are between the ages of 6 and 18 years old. We're trying to make them like sports, and at the same time, it's an activity during this time of corona, as children have nothing to do and have a lot of energy. We're trying to give them activities to do, and there was a huge turnout for basketball, aerobics and Zumba.
The Sports Academy for girls is over a year old and is the first of its kind in the conservative, war-torn African country. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Vox News.